Welcome to the Conscious Living Podcast, conversations to educate, empower, and enlighten our world. An uplifting and inspiring series of conversations and talks with your host, Jackie Woodside. We are educating minds, empowering lives, and enlightening souls to create a world where love prevails. In this engaging podcast, we deliver exciting, positive, transformative talks and teachings designed to elevate your life. Now, let's join our host, Jackie Woodside, for this week's session.
Hi there. Thank you so much for being here with us again for another episode of the Conscious Living Podcast, where we are here to educate, empower, and enlighten our world. I'm Jackie Woodside, the host of this podcast, and I am so excited to be here today and bring you just an extraordinary human being who I've wanted to get to know for about the past year. I've been kind of lurking in the sidelines, reading all of his stuff and checking him out online, and finally got up the courage to ask him to be on the Conscious Living Podcast. You are in for a treat. Joe Apfelbaum is, there's so many things I want to say about him, but let me just give you the professional introduction. He's the CEO of a digital marketing company. He's also the founder of an online learning portal where he teaches people how to use AI and how to use LinkedIn with excellence and ease. He's the author of High Energy Networking. He is a single dad of 5 kids between 6 and 16. This guy just blows my mind. We are in a high-level networking group together where anyone who asks any question about pretty much anything, Joe has the answer for it. And if he doesn't, he'll go find it and answer it anyway. So, Joe Apfelbaum, I want to say your name correctly. Thank you so much for being with us on the Conscious Living Podcast. Do you mind just fleshing that out a little bit, saying a little bit more about yourself?
Yes, of course. I would love it. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. I'm really glad to be here and to be able to share my expertise with the audience. So I'm the CEO of Ajax Union, a digital marketing agency. We've been around for 15 years, serviced over 1,100 clients, and was featured on the Inc. 500 as one of the fastest growing companies in the U.S. And our company, Evergreen, teaches people how to use LinkedIn and how to use artificial intelligence. We've serviced over 1,000 clients in the past 3 years. And people come to us because they want to learn new skills. They want to be able to grow their business and take their life and business to the next level. So we've been fortunate to be able to not just help people execute on marketing, we also teach people how to use platforms to be able to make their life better. So I'm excited to be here, happy to chat with you, and looking forward to having this amazing conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joe. One of the things that I'm most curious about as someone who's really committed to conscious living, right? So I have the Conscious Living Podcast. I wrote a curriculum called the Curriculum for Conscious Living. If anybody said, I just wish there was a book about how to do this. Well, I wrote a whole curriculum with 3 courses in it about how to live more consciously. I host an annual Conscious Living Summit. That's my thing, right? And now we're in this time that, I'm just so curious about how we will continue to evolve consciously when in some ways we don't have to think much anymore. And I'm talking, as I'm sure you know, about the rapid acceleration of artificial intelligence in our world. So I'm curious, as someone who's an expert in AI, Joe, how you've seen, how far along have you seen it coming? Where do you see it going? And where do you see the intersection of consciousness, our growth and evolution in consciousness, and our ability to live life consciously when we're at this very interesting intersection of, like I said, not having to think a whole lot for ourselves anymore. So I'd love you to just dive in on this whole topic of AI.
Because AI is solving problems for human beings that typically in the past human beings would have to solve those problems themselves, it's freeing human beings to be able to do things that have a higher level of consciousness. For example, it used to be that we would have to mop the floor. But now, artificial intelligence can mop the floor for us.
No, come on.
An AI robot called iRobot knows exactly how to mop your floor, and it knows exactly which room needs mopping, and it knows how to go back to its charging station and unpack the stuff and clean itself out and basically sweep and mop your house. That technology has existed for some time and continues to get better and better. There's all different types of technologies that are going to help us do the mundane things that we currently do everything from replying to emails, from understanding, from like cooking and preparing things. Artificial intelligence is going to be able to do everything for us. So that's going to give us the opportunity to do things that are more creative, that are more conscious, and that impact us in a different way. Because artificial intelligence costs a lot less to execute on tasks than the time and the effort and the energy that a human being actually needs to do things with. Think about the power that it takes to power a human being. Did you know that for a human being to be powered with AA batteries, it would take 646 AA batteries used to full capacity for powering a human being for 24 hours? Think about the amount of power it takes to power an entire human being and our capacity and what we could possibly do compared to using a little robot to do the same thing that the human being is currently doing. So we're not using our time effectively. We're not using our energy effectively. And if we can have technology doing the things that we're doing right now, it'll save us a lot of time, effort, and energy. Now, people are concerned about jobs and jobs being replaced, human beings losing jobs. Well, the reality is once you have technology do everything, human beings could just collect the benefit of the technology. And all human beings can benefit from having food that AI creates, from having entertainment that AI creates, from basically having everything, all your basic human needs met, from security to food, to access to water, to everything that you could possibly need. And so the hierarchy of needs, Abe Maslow's hierarchy of needs, basically on the top of the hierarchy of needs is this level of awareness and consciousness. Whereas if you don't have water or sleep, you don't have your basic human needs met, you're not going to be able to attain that. You're not going to be able to even think about that because you're so stuck in survival mode. But I believe that technology will help us be able to get out of survival mode if done correctly and done ethically and done in the right way. We're going to be able to transcend, and the entire world is going to be able to have more consciousness and more connection and more freedom and more power. And ultimately, it'll make the world a better place.
Wow. So I've so much to say about that. Thank you. That was a brilliant answer. AI can cook, but that's the first thing I've got to ask.
Have you ever seen a burger joint that you went to and there's like an arm flipping burgers? Have you ever seen that?
No, but I believe you.
So AI can cook.
But it's not going to cook me dinner in my kitchen.
Technically speaking, it can. And right now, you don't have the technology in your kitchen. You didn't invest in the type of technology that where it will make rice for you if you decide you want rice or whatever it is that you want. But you're going to see that happen very, very quickly, where you're going to have a pantry that gets automatically fed by technology, and then the technology knows the freshness of it, and it's able to just quickly cook it and create whatever it is that your preferences are.
Wow. Now, I just have to ask more. This fascinates me. Is that like a little robot, like looks like a little robot person that like moves around my pantry, or how does that actually?
It's actually not going to look like a little robot person. It's more going to just be integrated into your kitchen. It's going to be like an appliance that's integrated into your kitchen. It communicates with all the different appliances in your house. Look, at the end of the day, our entire house is going to be AI. Like our doors, our lights, our windows, like everything that we have is going to be based on artificial intelligence because that's just the smartest way to do it. You can have technology that can decide who gets how much power and to be able to manage everything that's going on. You don't have to have human beings deal with it. There's so much waste going on with us just leaving things running when technology can decide what needs to run and what doesn't need to run. Think about the carbon footprint, how much we'll save if technology can turn off people's air conditioners when they're not even home without even them knowing, and know when they're going to come back home because they have tracking them with GPS, and they'll know how to get the room cool in time for them to get home so they didn't know the difference of the temperature, or even just knowing when a plant needs water. Like all this type of stuff, technology knows the moisture levels and what needs what and what is what. And so if you're able to leverage technology in the right way, you're able to be successful. Now, technology hasn't caught up to that right now in a way where it makes sense financially. The technology exists right now, but it hasn't made sense financially. But where it does make sense financially is, for example, doing some knowledge work. For example, writing content. Right now, as we speak, inside the Zoom room that we're using, there's an AI that's typing up every single thing that we say. Typing it up, not just verbatim, making sure that it makes sense, and then later organizing it by topic. And so that it can already do that. I would, traditionally hire an assistant to take notes so that she can write an overview after, or that he can prepare an article after from what I said. I no longer need to bother an assistant to do that knowledge work, because for a fraction of a few pennies, I'm going to be able to have technology do that for me today. That works already. So the way that we communicate as human beings is using language. So if computers could understand our language, then we communicate with computers using language, we can accomplish a lot.
Yeah, that's called language learning models, right?
LLM, yeah.
Yeah. Explain that a little bit. What is that?
So there are different types of models. There's LLM and there is GPT. There's different types of models that you can use in order to be able to, for the computer to understand what the person is saying, this NLP technology. But at the end of the day, it's like we communicate with ourselves in our thought. How is your thought created in your own mind? How is your thought created? Using language, using words. Our thoughts are constructed using words. If we didn't have words, we wouldn't be able to think. Remove all the words from your mind and use no words. Make noises. It's meaningless. There's no meaning without words. Even you taking noises and deciding what the noise is, you need to use words to decide what a noise is, like the difference between a car honking or a bird tweeting. And so you use words. So now the computers until now didn't understand these words. It just understood zeros and ones. It just understood technology. But now with the advent of LLM and using NLP and using advanced GPT, what you can actually do is you can communicate with a computer in a way where it just understands exactly what you're saying. Even tools like Siri and so on, they don't fully understand everything you're saying. They could just recognize certain words, certain triggers, and then it knows based on you talking to it a very certain way. If you ever spoke to Alexa, you'll know what I'm talking about. You got to just keep repeating yourself until it finally gets what you say. But with GPT or Google's LLMs or anything like that, you're able to talk to it and you can do typos and you can say random things and it'll know exactly what you're talking about. It's really, really clever. And so the smarter that gets and the less it costs to use, the more we're going to communicate with the world the way that we communicate. They could even map your brain now to know what you're thinking. Like they can actually map your brain to know what you're thinking and what words you're thinking. And so if you're able to do that and you're able to like augment onto the world what you want to do and how you want to do it, now you're able to think with the world using technology and start manipulating the world in a very powerful way. Like, for example, knowing when you're on a train, for instance, if people around you are sick, or knowing how to protect yourself and knowing if somebody's going to attack you or hurt you or somebody wants to take advantage of you or whatever it is from a security standpoint, or knowing who really needs help and who doesn't need help and how you can actually be productive in the world. But if you just take it back to like communicating with other human beings, let's say you just landed in Korea right now. I dropped you off in Korea, South Korea, you just landed and you want to have a conversation with someone. It used to be that you wouldn't be able to talk to them. You wouldn't be able to communicate. But now using AI, you can literally talk to your phone. It'll translate in real time what you're saying. And when they talk, it'll translate it back. AI speaks over 200 different languages and it's self-learning languages. So very soon it'll be able to speak over 1,000 different languages by just feeding it a few words in each language. So the AI is self-learning very, very quickly. And it's been very, very powerful for me to be able to even clone my own voice and to be able to clone my own look and feel of how I look and feel, and then be able to have me communicate in different accents, not just languages, but in different accents. I put up a video on LinkedIn with me doing a Russian accent, but it wasn't me. It was the AI speaking in a Russian accent.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking English in a Russian accent. How crazy is that? So like
what AI did that? Which platform?
It's called Synthesia.io.
Synthesia, yeah. Wow. This is so mind-blowing. All right, so I want to go back to something you said in your first answer. You said, we won't even have to work that much. The technology is going to be there. It's going to make our lives so much more easier. We're going to be so much more free. Do you know what I'm going to say? That's what they said at the advent of the computer technology revolution. Back in the 70s, it was like, we're going to have so much leisure time. We're going to become a leisure class. Technology will do everything for us. We won't have to think. We won't have to work as much. The laboring class will not have to do as much. So, and look what's happened. Now we live in a world filled with, just overwhelm and chaos. So it did not pan out as those kind of futurist projections said they might. So what's your thought to that, Joe, as we've been down this road before with computer technology, and now here we are again saying this will be the thing that will make life so much easier?
Well, the reason why it doesn't make life easier is because we can't communicate with it through language. That's the issue. The issue is we have to sit there pushing buttons on a phone. But could you imagine if you literally just talked to it like a friend? Like you had a little machine next to you that looked like a human, and you just spoke to it and you told it what to do and it just went and did it? That exists right now. That did not exist before. Now you can actually speak to it like a regular person, and that is a real game changer. But of course, there's ways that people are going to abuse everything. People need dopamine, and they get dopamine hits from pushing buttons on Facebook or whatever. It's like a real thing that people, and we don't know that the real impact of what it's going to have or what people are going to start doing once they become bored. Think about it. Now people are busy, checking people out on Target or whatever they're doing as a job as a cashier. Mm-hmm. You see the self-checkout happening already. You see you walking over, you swipe it yourself, you walk by, you're done. Later in the night, you have to walk by and done. You just put it in your thing and you just go, or a drone will just drop it off in your hands. As soon as you push a button, it'll just come out of the sky. You're sitting over there, you're like, I want a milkshake. All of a sudden a milkshake appears in your hand, ready to go. And that's a very big possibility. That's not like so far-fetched that you're going to have, that stuff. Instacart's going to be literally Instacart. You push a button and it just shows up. That stuff is coming. Self-driving cars, that exists. That exists. That's real.
I have one. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So think about even the cars that are not self-driving. I was driving an Acura MDX the other day, and I'm driving on the road, and I didn't want to sit there and move the wheel to stay in the lane. I just wanted to just chill and have a conversation with the person next to me. Of course, I was still focused on the road, but it made my life so much easier and so much less stress for me to have to make sure that every time the car turns, that the wheels turns by itself. A car made a short stop in front of me, the car slowed down by itself. It stopped, and when the car went, it started going by itself. Yeah. It's like, it makes my life so much easier. So yes, our lives are becoming a lot easier, but at the same time, what are we doing with that time? And that's where consciousness comes in. If you can increase the consciousness in people, the level of consciousness, that's going to be able to allow them to be able to utilize the extra time that they have in a more productive way to enable them to make an impact for other human beings. The secret to living is giving. That's what I always say. The secret to living is giving. And so being able to get people aware of the fact that, hey, you have all this extra time, leverage it. It used to be that you'd have to work in a farm from morning to night, and you'd go to sleep because you were exhausted. Now people can't sleep at night because they don't work at all. They just sit around watching Netflix or whatever they do. And so it becomes exhausting, and that's why you need this education and consciousness and okay, what do we do now that we have this? And I feel like the younger generation is kind of picking it up more and more, where they're kind of getting unplugged. I know quite a few young kids are just not interested in social media anymore. They want to get into the real world. It's happening. And so we're going to see it's going to turn. But of course, whenever there's a shiny new object, like being able to have a phone in your hand that's more powerful than a computer that send us to the moon, is just very interesting to be able to have that. And so people get really excited about it.
Yeah. I'm so curious to see how this will go. And I do agree that raising consciousness on the planet is so necessary. I teach a course on productivity, and one of the things I say in that course, because we're living in this time of constant overwhelm, is that our technology has outpaced our neurology. Technology has advanced faster than our brain has been able to keep up with it. So the amount of data that's available, the amount of changes. And so everyone constantly feels behind. There's always too much to do. Do you think AI will be the remedy to that?
I think that AI will be helpful for us to be able to improve all the different areas of our life. It could also complicate things. AI can start a war and realize that human beings are destroying the planet and then just basically destroy the human beings. That's a very big possibility. But if we use it carefully and use it responsibly, that's really the key.
That scares me. Careful, responsible, and human being in the same sentence can be an interesting conundrum. I want to ask you on a different note. Your book, High Energy Networking. High energy is one of the things I say about being a high consciousness, high vibe, high energy person. Is one of the things that I really value and teach. So, in your book, High Energy Networking, how are you using that concept of high energy?
Well, for me, people ask me, when I ask people, how do you define me? They say high energy. You always have so much energy. You have kids, you have this, you have businesses, you have a lot of self-expression and all that stuff. And for me, it's about taking action. A lot of people, they're not taking action. They say they want to network, but they're not being a leader in their relationships. They're not following up. They're not doing the things that they need to do. And as a result, they don't get the relationships they want in their life. And so I teach people exactly how to do that using our framework. We have lots of different ways to be able to take action. But when you start taking action, you start feeling that high energy, because that's what creates energy. That's what creates movement, is the action that we take. So I give people the step-by-step framework of what to do in order to improve their relationships, in order to network better, in order to do everything that they need to do in order to be more successful.
I love that. So can you give a couple of those examples of the frameworks that get people in action? I'd be curious to hear that.
Yeah, like even for example, just analyzing your connections on LinkedIn. So I tell people I have a step-by-step process of recognize, strategize, and prioritize. So downloading your connections on LinkedIn, taking a look at all of them, identifying, okay, who do I know, who do I not know? Because a lot of people are hoarding connections. They kind of just collect, even in your address book. And kind of taking stock, recognize, then strategize, identify who is strategic for your business. And then finally, prioritize by setting up meetings with the people that are strategic for your business and that you actually recognize. And again, if you go through your contacts, you realize you've been hoarding people in your database that you have never even communicated with in years, but you have a relationship with them. And so being able to kind of get into action by going through that process is really important. And a lot of people overlook that. So that's just one of the many different ways that I teach people how to use networking to be successful.
Yeah. And you've got to be in action to do that. And it sounds like you teach some really good strategies for people to think about that. Will AI address that kind of task?
It doesn't know who you know and who you don't know. So a portion of it will, by like analyzing your emails, by analyzing your social media activity. It'll know who you know and who you don't know, or previous history.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, AI is going to help you do things like communicate. Like, for example, if you want to send somebody a happy birthday message and you have a list of people that you already know, AI can send them a happy birthday message for you. You don't have to actually do it. And it can customize it. It can send an email. It can send a direct message. I'm actually developing software that will automatically log into your profile and start sending messages to your people for you on your behalf at the right time.
Your LinkedIn profile.
100%. Yeah. So we're launching that very soon. But look, at the end of the day, a lot of networking has to do around mindset, and AI is not going to help you improve your mindset. It might just do things for you, but it's not going to help you with mindset. So you have to understand the benefits of networking, understand what's stopping you, understanding why people are afraid of networking, and 90% of people don't even network, understanding the trauma that you've had in the past and why it's stopping you from taking action, all that stuff. And also even having a strategy, setting expectations, having the mindset of a connector, making sure that you're in abundance and not that you're in scarcity. You're standing kind of get into that, like all that stuff. So that's some of the stuff that we cover in our book, and just teaching people how to deal with people who are negative or like things that come up like that.
Yeah. Talking about mindset, I a couple AI stories I want to share with you. One is that I read an article in the newsletter called Every, I think it was, and a guy uploaded 10 years of his journals into an AI. It might have been chat. I don't know, but literally 10 years of his journals. And then he used AI to solve a bunch of problems for himself. So that it was intuitive enough. It identified blind spots that he didn't see, issues in his marriage that he wasn't aware of, that his wife then confirmed, and did all kinds of things because he uploaded so much of his personal past to it and then asked the right questions. That was one that I heard. And another one was AI can now do medical diagnoses and respond to patients with greater empathy than doctors do.
Because they don't have a great bedside manner. Often the doctors don't have it. Yeah.
Right. But I thought it was cool that AI can even now begin to show compassion.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Well, awesome, Joe. Thank you so much for being with us. Any last thoughts about AI, the future, where we're going with conscious living, where you see us 5 years from now in terms of AI and the future of technology? What are your projections?
Well, it's only going to get better and better. It's only going to improve more and more in terms of being able to use it for your everyday stuff. But I want you to realize is that getting into it now is the key. Yeah. We have a course where people can learn it. If they go to newaicourse.com, they can check out our new AI course where people can start learning it. But the key is to kind of start dipping your toes into it, and don't be afraid to get involved in the conversation, whether you're using it for marketing, for business development, for prospecting, for networking, for helping you communicate, for helping you be able to create systems and processes in your business, for brainstorming, whatever you're going to use it for. Make sure you start by tippy-toeing in, start using it, start getting to know some of the chatbots that are available. And what you're going to see is it's going to improve over time, but at least you're not going to be afraid of it when it comes to using it, because you already started leveraging it and realize, hey, it's only a machine. It's literally like a light switch. You push it up, it turns on, you push it down, it turns off.
Right.
Can be a lot more complicated than just pushing it on and off, but it's an autocomplete. It responds to you, just like water responds to you. You're not afraid of water. You throw a pebble and it responds. You fill it with a cup and it responds. You freeze it and it responds. Same thing with AI. It's just a machine, and you can use your creativity to do whatever you want with it, as long as you follow the methods in prompt engineering and using the technology in the right way. So thank you so much for having me. I'm always happy to help. If anybody wants to contact me, you could find me at joelinkedin.com. That's JOE LinkedIn.com. Always happy to connect with people. My cell phone number is in my About section. You want to text me or whatever. But thanks so much for having me here, Jackie. And this is a really great conversation.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your knowledge, your wisdom. And I love being around you. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.